Yo.
What's good, man? Let me add Lisa here.
All right, let me
Just
make sure
talking
I'm
to her.
recording. Make sure I'm recording, and I am recording. Yeah. Great.
How's it going?
It is what it is.
Sounds like America to me.
It is what it is. Wifey was like, "Oh, you're going back upstairs?"
Lisa, how
Oh,
come we don't
it's
see
my
you?
hi. There I am.
Oh,
Hey, Lisa, how are you? What does that say on your shirt? Can you pull it down?
Lisa,
Hold on.
you're
You're
freeze. You're
frozen.
frozen.
You're frozen.
What do we
Lisa, why are you
do,
frozen?
Frank?
Pull your shirt
What
down.
do I
Yeah.
need to do?
Oh, you're good.
I
I
don't
just want
think
to see
that
your
has
shirt.
anything to do with
No, I
it.
want to see your shirt. I want to see what it says.
Let's
Live,
talk
live
about
to
why I'm
dream.
frozen.
Live to dream. Oh.
My shirt is the notorious AOC. So if anybody cares,
I have a
but
Joe
I doubt it.
Budden. I have a
What?
Joe.
I'm going to buy me some shirts. You can trust and believe.
I have a Joe Budden podcast hat on.
Of course you do.
I'm going to buy me some 90s R&B shirts. I got me a LaFace shirt already on order. So you can already bet it. Me and Derek got our matching LaFace shirts.
Somehow
Was that?
that is going to be really funny when I see it. Somehow it's going to be really funny when I see it. Okay, so let's get this thing popping off. I've got recording done and I've got recording confirmed, and
I know, but
um,
am I still chopping?
yeah, you're still a little choppy,
Yeah.
Prince.
Why is that? What is that? My fault?
No, no,
I
I
think.
said you hear
No.
it too. Making
Yes, I
sure.
hear it
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Do you think it's because I have something else going on?
Sucking up your internet.
If it's pulling off your internet, yeah, probably.
Come on. Okay, let me get my phone off the internet. That'll help.
Well, no, no. Are you on a
Okay.
Bluetooth?
Yes, she's on Bluetooth.
That's why.
That's why she's choppy.
Yeah. It's
What
Really?
not
do
that
you
her.
mean?
Oh, you know what? No, no, no. Her signal is choppy. Yeah, your signal is choppy. It's not Bluetooth. No.
Uh,
Yeah, it's not
Yes,
Bluetooth.
not.
Let
It's
me
not
just get on
Bluetooth.
my AT&T. Hold on a second. Let me just get off Wi-Fi
Yeah,
altogether.
yeah,
I think that's better.
yeah. You're
Oh,
freezing. Yeah, you're freezing pretty badly.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah. Now you're frozen completely.
Yeah, you're frozen. But it's
but
funny.
do you want me
It's
to
not that funny.
do you want me to reset?
Maybe reconnect. Have Prince recall you. Hang up and have Prince recall you.
All right, and I'm resetting this thing. So give it just a second. I'm sorry, guys.
What are you using? Resetting what thing?
My box, my Wi-Fi box.
Ugh, that's gonna take a minute, but okay.
No, I just pushed a button.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
it
don't.
will.
Yeah, I don't think it's. I don't think it's your
I don't
Wi-Fi
think
then.
it's supposed to flash blue though, Frank.
Oh,
I mean, I have Xfinity, so I don't know.
yeah.
I think
I
it's
don't know
supposed to be
what that is.
solid.
See, now you sound fine.
Yeah, you're
Now,
fine right
now
now.
you're fine now, and even your picture cleared up.
All right, now am I okay?
Yeah, you sound okay. It's a little crackly, but she sounds good.
Well, we can't have crackly.
Does she sound crackly, or maybe
Yeah,
it's just?
no. You sound a little crackly, it's like 90% better than it was before.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I have to get off from the mood because I can't get no music on this podcast, so I got to bring my own. Whatever.
Lisa, what's the name of your podcast?
Oh,
Now
by the
you,
way,
now you muted. Now you muted,
Oh,
Lisa.
oh,
Yeah,
I have a problem.
now you echoing.
yeah.
Okay, I have a whole new problem. Hold on, and I'm gonna fix it. Oh, it's gonna be awful too.
More awful than than the last 5 minutes.
No,
No,
Prince,
hold on one
stop,
second. Hold on.
stop exaggerating. It's been 4 minutes and 18, 19,
Hold on one
20.
second. Damn it, man. Hold on. Fucking man. I am. I'm
What are you
drunk.
drinking? What are you drinking there, Prince?
My Gatorade Zero that cost me a quarter on Amazon Prime.
Sit here
And
with.
still, it costs more than my Steel Reserve 211.
Ah, okay. I think Lisa is supposed to be drinking tonight, from what I hear. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, that sounds horrible.
Yeah, it does.
I have a question about that Griffin guy.
Which one?
Gang.
Which one?
Getting.
The one who died a
Griffey.
few years ago.
So Griffey or Griffin?
My headphones
Griffin,
were
the one
dying.
who discovered Teddy Riley.
Oh, Gene Griffin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gonna
So-
talk about him. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you're probably gonna mention him, but I have a question because I read that he was like the past couple of years, well, the last years of his life, everybody hated him, but they didn't say why. I
Yeah,
couldn't
we can.
find out why.
Yeah, we can talk. We can definitely
we'll
talk about him, and it has and it has a lot to do with it has a lot to do with it's a lot of revisionist history. You know
I
what
love
mean?
revisionist history.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it has a lot to do with revisionist history, and it has a lot to do. I mean, it's the same thing. It's the same thing that Dick Griffey went through with Solar Records.
Hmm.
Right.
Okay.
Because remember Dick Griffey went through something incredibly similar with Suge Knight and Dre.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll get into that.
Yeah,
Lisa, are you back?
You back, Lisa?
Is it possible? I suck right now. Y'all have no earthly idea what's going on.
Well, you're right. We don't have any idea what's going on.
Like I had one job all day.
So now you sound fine.
Yeah, you sound fine.
You sound fine right now.
Can't hear you. That's the problem. Can't hear you.
Of course.
Of course not, because you sound fine, and you sound great.
You sound perfect. And the video is fine. And we hear the music. You can tell because Frank is doing his new moves.
I'm trying to figure out my problem.
Well, if you don't know what your problem is, how do you know?
Frank. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we hear
Yeah,
But I can't hear you. That's the problem.
yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, that would be a
That is a big problem. So hold on, bear with me here. I'm trying to figure out why.
So it's all right. We're only 7 minutes and 20 minutes. 7 minutes and 20 seconds in.
People are gonna love this podcast.
Oh yeah.
Deal with my technical issues. I had one responsibility today, and that was to make sure my headphones were charged.
Oh,
I hate my life right now. I make sure I'm on this stupid headphone.
you're in a portion in Alabama. Yeah, you really have.
Whoa. You don't have to sing. I know you can't hear yourself, but we can hear you, babe.
I'm sorry. Oh.
I'm so blown right now. So fucking blown. Huh?
What's
You
that?
talking to me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, Frank. I see you up in the upper corner. I'm so fucking peeved. How can I solve this problem?
Use
You don't
the
even
speakers.
know what the problem is.
Use the speakers on your computer.
The funny thing is I'm asking y'all questions, but I can't hear you.
Exactly.
Oh.
All right.
Whoa.
You know what? I'm gonna hang up on Lisa and tell her that
So
to use the.
I'm assuming that headphones don't work when they're plugged in.
What do you think about that idea, Frank?
I have no
I'm trying to
idea.
connect to it right now. Hold on.
I'm plugged in.
Says it's connecting. Well,
I plugged in. Right. You shouldn't use Bluetooth on your podcast.
Right. Obviously.
Right.
So wait, is that Bluetooth in it?
y'all just continue to talk to each other while I fight this
What do you think?
shitty
Who do
battle.
you think I've been talking to? Who would talk to you, Frank?
Yeah, can you hear it through the speaker?
I haven't had my headphones on all day specifically to be able to connect with
So,
y'all.
so maybe
I don't get why my headphones won't come on.
maybe you should.
Talk about me. Tell me why. Mother.
Here.
Oh, man. Frank, speak. Frank, speak.
Yep,
Well,
there you go.
you said you didn't say you should. You, Frank, you forgot to write speakers. Use the speakers in the computer. You put computers on the
I
computer.
think she can hear us. Can you hear us, Lisa?
Can you hear us?
Mhm.
Oh, you can hear us?
Okay.
Oh,
All right. You
okay.
probably have to turn the music off because it's competing for your microphone.
How about if I just move it?
No, it's competing for your microphone. So
What does that
Skype,
mean?
Skype is always going to try to mute us out and go to you because it thinks that you're talking.
All right. Sounds like craziness.
Well, you don't hear it on our end. What happens is
Hello?
that you're in and out. So
Yeah,
Prince
you
will
keep
talk
going
and
in
then
and out.
you're in and
That's
out
because
because
I
your
have no
speaker.
battery power on my headphones.
No, that's fine.
Neither.
Now you sound fine. Now you sound fine. Just a
Well,
little nasally.
I'm very worried about
Just a
all
little
of these
nasally.
wires.
Yeah, just
You
why
do
don't you
have a
take
lot
the
of
wires
wires.
out? Yeah, why don't you take the right?
You do look
Yeah,
When I
kind
put
of.
this in here, do you think it's going to kill it? If so, we're going to be in trouble.
Well, if it kills it, it kills it. All right, let's start.
Wait a minute. Let's try and see if I can keep it in. If I can wear it, Bryce, please don't stress me out. I'm so stressed. I don't know what to fucking do. Fuck, man.
Oh,
Sorry,
I
the 7 a.m. calls this morning just have me a little bit. You've been looking at this computer for 13 hours. I apologize. Now you're talking and we can't hear you.
Lisa, now we can't hear
We
you
can't
at
hear
all.
you. We can't hear you.
We cannot hear you at all. Lisa, we cannot hear you at all.
Nope.
Where'd
We
Frank
can't
go?
hear you.
There you go.
Okay,
There you
Okay,
now
can
we
you hear
can
me
hear
now?
you.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
You guys, bring it down a notch. I'm the only one that gets stressed out here.
I
We
love
have a
how
problem?
My
I love how
Wi-Fi
you-
is pumping.
I
big
love how
time
your
here.
I love how your speakers are fucking with you, but we need to calm it down. We get the hand gestures.
We're the
Hi,
problem.
I can hear
We
you.
get the hand gestures, right?
Hi,
All
I
right.
can hear you, and so
All right.
you can hear me too.
Yeah, I
so,
can hear you. What's the name of your podcast, Lisa?
Poppin', Ron and Crackalackin'.
Poppin' on and
And
Crackalackin'.
Crackalackin'. So
Poppin' and
Well,
Crackalackin'.
let's go while I've got median.
Okay.
Frank is recording.
That's not the name of. No.
Okay.
Her podcast is called 90s Rewind.
Thank you, Frank.
Okay?
Okay, it's called
90s
90s
Rewind.
Okay.
Because he's going to mention it, so he has
Yeah.
to know what the name of
That's
it
why I'm asking you. Yeah. Oh, Lisa's like really like just okay. All right, here we go. All right.
I just want to look at myself. I just want to look at my ponytail. All
All
right,
right. All right.
let's
Here we-
go.
All right.
And my fingernails aren't painted, so I've got to keep them in my pocket.
That's fine. Keep your hands in your pocket. Keep your hands to yourself.
All right, let me know
That's
if you
always
need music because I have it here handy. Okay?
That's
That's
great.
good.
That's good. A Prince.
Yo,
Hey, Prince.
dude, what's up? What's good?
So, you know, what amazing album. Groundbreaking album. Groundbreaking. Just intense, insane. Career-defining album was released by MCA Records on June 20th, 1988. What album
Did you say
was that?
Lisa? That would be Don't Be Cruel. Thank you. Don't Be Cruel for Forehead Bob. Thanks.
Oh, we have a guest today.
We do have a guest today. So, it wasn't just Don't Be Cruel, it was Any Heartbreak by New Edition. And MCA released them on the same day, and they got all the promotion.
Wow.
And they got all the hype. And as a matter of fact, everything that Bobby Brown was doing was under the covers, and no one knew who he was working with and what he was doing. And that would be the surprise twist because no one knew that Don't Be Cruel was going to be released the same day as New Edition, Any Heartbreak. So we're going to talk about Don't Be Cruel by Bobby Brown. Lisa from 90s Rewind is joining us to
Hey,
talk
Lisa.
about Bobby Brown. But you know what? It would not be Bobby Brown because we are talking about Bobby Brown, right, Lisa?
Absolutely. Not only are we talking about Bobby Brown, we're talking about the king of stage. The king of stage.
Yeah.
Tacky as usual. Right up your alley. That's great.
Yeah.
Let's-
Okay.
But what we are going to talk about is an album that sold 12 million copies. That is what we're going to talk about. Regardless,
Uh,
it made that even possible of what you're doing right there. Made it very possible. All 12 million of those records. I probably bought 10.
didn't it take like 6 months before it charted or something? Didn't it take a long time before it even got on from when it was released to when it became number one or something?
It did.
Is my information correct?
No, I
Yeah.
think your information is actually probably a few months, a little long. No one was expecting Prince Bobby Brown to drop that album, and nobody was expecting it to have the results that it had. So, just a little color. Bobby Brown, first album, King of the Stage, produced by Larry Blackman and the guys from Cameo, and everything. So you're picking up right on magazine, and you're picking up Jet, and you're picking up Ebony, and you're reading about all of this crazy stuff that Bobby Brown is doing as a part of New Edition. Then you find that New Edition, you kicked him out of the group, right? And then you don't hear from him, and he comes out, and he's going to fulfill his contract with MCA, and he comes out with the guy that's a bad boy, the guy that saw his was seeing people killed at a young age from Roxbury. That bad boy, the guy that was on tour partying, drunk, cocaine, booze, marijuana, whole nine yards. You all of a sudden you're waiting. Oh, I'm gonna see what this guy's album is like. And then you find out Larry Blackman from Cameo is producing it, right? And he can't go no wrong, right? Especially not in the 80s.
Not then,
Right, especially not in the 80s. And then he comes out with King
But he
of the
didn't
Stage.
he didn't give Bobby Brown word up though. Go ahead.
Exactly. And he gave him King of the Stage. He gave him Girlfriend. I need a girlfriend. So he gave him New Edition music, which was really interesting because New Edition was doing their remake and their covers of famous 60s and 70s songs and with Under Blue Moon or whatever the case is. And it was really interesting. So New Edition is doing something totally different, and then Bobby Brown is doing what New Edition should have been doing. And now you
Do
have
you really think? Hold on, Lisa, you are the '90s expert here.
And I'm on an 80s show, so be careful because we're a little under my number. But I'll do the best.
I realize that. But I mean,
I'm not stepping on Frank's toes today.
I'm sure you know about Bobby Brown and New Edition. Tell us about this New Edition Heartbreak album. What do I need to know about that?
What do you mean? What do you need to know about the heart? What is there?
Was that album? Was that
they threw Johnny
what was
Gill
the
on
hits
top
on that
of
album?
Say it
I'm
again?
trying to remember that record.
Oh, come on. Can you stand the rain? Just remember Johnny Gill.
Okay.
Just remember that.
I don't love
All right,
her.
gotcha.
I tried
Right.
to tell
Yeah.
myself.
Remember the Brooke Payne.
that was a great album. How come we're not reviewing that album? All right.
Right, exactly. We should be.
Lisa, are you impressed that I even got the moves down like that?
Yes.
You
because
were
I-
slightly impressed because I got a
today.
smile out of you, Lisa, and I never get a smile out of you, right?
Every
Because
time Black Band knew those dance steps at that year. Come on.
first of all, Lisa, I got the twirly fingers, and I even got the hand behind the head. You know,
There you
what I'm
got
saying?
that part.
I got that part, right? So
The Brooke Payne dance routine.
the Brooke Payne dance routine. There you
Payne.
so all of a sudden, now you have this shift where Bobby Brown and New Edition on the same label, MCA all the money is going to New Edition. They put the money into Jam and Lewis in Minneapolis, and Bobby Brown
Love
is
them,
left
by the way.
to. Bobby Brown just has to fulfill the contract. He just has to fulfill a contract, and Dick.
So you're
Greg-
trying to say they wasn't expecting anything from Bobby Brown?
they weren't expecting anything from Bobby Brown. There was no promotion. There was nothing that was done. And that is the reason why it was an album that dropped that you didn't know that was dropping.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we talked about, on our last podcast, we talked about the power of MTV turning things into hits, right?
Yeah.
And so, now at this point, you now have got Ralph McDaniels, and you got the Video Jukebox, and you've got all of those shows that are on UHF, right? And getting all of these looks, and it was an interesting new way. But to go back into why this album was incredibly important, you have to step back and understand that this album was an album of super producers, but it was super producers that weren't yet super producers. So on the West Coast, you got Dick Griffey and Solar Records, and Solar Records produces the Deal, and that was Babyface and L.A. Reid, and all of a sudden you have these guys trying to get out from under the shadow, and you got Dick Griffey doing a lot of interesting music business stuff, and helping and getting LA and Babyface the deals with MCA, because previous to that they had been contracted to do the Pebbles album, they had been contracted to do the Whispers, Rocksteady, right?
Don't forget about Paul Abdul.
and Paula Abdul. So now you've got this budding juggernaut in on the left coast, which is L.A., and then in New York Harlem, you got Teddy Riley and his mentor and his benefactor Gene Griffin. And the interesting thing about Gene Griffin is that Gene Griffin has always been portrayed as a Harlem gangster and all. I mean, it's like Cameron, right? It's one of those things where Harlem's always got these notions of gangsters and these notions of people who lean on people in the music business and everything, and that's the persona that Gene Griffin has had for most of his career. He brings Teddy into the mix, and you hear stories about he's got Teddy just producing for him, and in fact, if you look at the Don't Be Cruel album credits, and we'll get into the album here in just a moment, you're going to see Gene Griffin's name everywhere, right? But the fact of the matter is that
So he was like Suge Knight.
he was not like Suge Knight from the perspective of Gene Griffin was the producer of the movie while Teddy Riley was the director.
Okay.
And that was the best way to think about it. So it was really this heavy, and Gene Griffin was behind songs like Last Night a DJ Saved My Life.
You love Teddy
That's a
Riley so
classic.
much. You are willing to make every podcast about Teddy Riley. I don't care if Teddy Riley didn't even do the album. Somehow, 7 degrees of separation, Teddy Riley would be involved in our podcast.
But he was involved in
so,
the making of this album.
so how can we talk about Don't Be Cruel and not talk about the biggest song on that album, the song that introduced an entire new generation into a word, the song that was so crazy that Britney Spears re-recorded it and still sold 1 million on it?
I hate when you steal my notes. That's what I hate. Because I had the Britney Spears note. And I knew I said to Prince, he's going to steal my notes. He somehow got some camera in my house and he's stealing my notes that I'm working ever so hard on to make sure I bring something great to this podcast.
Lisa,
There
you're
you go.
bringing the 90s to the podcast. So you
And a
can-
ponytail with some bamboo earrings. I mean, what do you want?
At least 2 pair?
Definitely.
Speaking of
And a hoodie
80s.
with and a hoodie with no bra on.
Can
What-
we get back to discussing this album?
Absolutely. So
All right.
now,
Well,
so Prince, real fast, we've got Teddy Riley and we've got L.A. Babyface, and they're all coming together, and this new Jack Swing and this new way of doing R&B mesh together, and out of those ashes, the one guy that everybody was willing to take a chance on was Bobby Brown. because it
Which
didn't
I can take a
matter.
note real quick. I will say that once upon a time, Daryl Simmons told me he was excited about this record simply because he felt so bad for Bobby, and this is probably his favorite record that he did, simply because it was like, oh, the guy who overcame, the one that nobody was betting on.
Who said this?
So
Who
Daryl
said this?
Simmons,
And
Daryl
who
Simmons,
and who is Daryl Simmons?
Yeah, who is that?
uh, he's a writer with Face and Reed.
He was involved in this album?
Yeah,
There you go.
Okay. All right. Thank you for those details.
Right. If it helps, I bought the album. Do I get? I got a credit too.
I'm
I
sure
bought
you
it.
bought a few. I'm sure you bought it more than
I
once.
bought two albums.
And how many from the bootleg guy on the corner?
I didn't buy from the bootleg guy in the corner because it was coming into internet season, so I just went on to.
No way. They
I
were
went
selling
into a-
cassettes on the corner
I
for
went,
$5.
I went to a bulletin board and I downloaded it. So with
I will
my
say this.
my Atari,
I will say this because
Good.
I'm not a big Bobby Brown fan.
right?
I think he's
I'm
not.
trying to
You
hear
know,
that.
I think as a person, he's scum. That's just my own personal
Okay,
opinion.
now that I
All right.
there only because I know better than that. Only because I've heard personal stories, I know personal stories, and I've met him twice. And
Oh,
the
that's why
personal story, that the personal stories are that he's a very good guy, and that all the stories that you heard are kind of conjured up in protection of Whitney.
really, really.
Again,
Okay.
again, Whitney.
Yeah. Well, I'm just
That was
I'm just-
conjured up for the Whitney. Facts.
as a music fan who I don't know Bobby Brown, but I just know the stories I hear about Bobby Brown.
I have
And from
stories.
those stories, from the stories from me that I know, he just doesn't come across as a great person. Tell us a good Bobby Brown story. Tell us something that Bobby Brown did that.
Well, I was specifically told that he definitely 100% would give you the shirt off his back, 100%. And that's from people that toured with him, someone I know that's real close to him, someone that wrote for him. They would give you the shirt off the back, and that he would come to him and say, these stories are made up. Come to him on tour that Whitney's people are making these stories up to make it look like he's the bad guy.
Okay, all right. Well, that's interesting. I didn't know that. I can kind of believe that.
He loved
So-
Bobby.
So Prince,
Okay.
Lisa,
Yeah.
everything you need to know about Bobby Brown, you can hear in the first 30 seconds of Cruel Prelude. So
To cut you off again, I
prelude.
did know that we were going to talk about these reprises. And for you, as a benefit and a gift to you, I reached out to Phil and said, what's the story with the reprises? And he said,
I was talking about the Prelude.
well, they're the same thing. Unfortunately, they're the exact same story.
Not really, because they have different
Big
words.
thing. That they were a
Okay.
big thing was his exact words. And they were just like remixes and extended remixes. So there you have it. That's the explanation for the prelude and the reprise.
So, the fact that Don't Be Cruel is 6 minutes and 48 seconds and the Prelude was 37 seconds, they're probably not remixes. But it is an interesting way to start an album. It's an interesting way to start an album because not only did he start this album this way, right? He started the next album with that prelude, and then he does the scratch, and he goes, "Come on, dance,
around.
come on,
Humping around.
kick it, come on,
Hey,
dance,
dance.
come on,
Hey.
kick it." So again, I think Prince. The interesting thing about just Bobby Brown is, and I agree with Lisa, and Daryl, that you have this guy that is set up to fail, and they're not going to spend a lot of money on producers, right? And they're just going to work with teams, but all of a sudden, Face and L.A. and Simmons deliver just powerhouses. 3 songs that they come in and they say, "Hey, Roni, rock with you, don't be cruel." Absolute powerhouses. Anybody wins.
Let's go
on
through
that.
these. Let's go through these songs one by
Okay,
one.
so let's talk about
Okay.
let's talk
Get
about
every little step.
Let's start at the top.
So let's
All
start
right,
at the
we've
top.
already
So-
done the prelude,
we got-
the
so-
introduction, like
so
something's
now-
great about to happen.
So now
Right.
we're going to go into Don't Be Cruel. right? Now, this is important because you know, all through the '80s we talk about it's the you ever hear the theory of track seven? And
Tracks. Okay, go
and
ahead.
Prince, you and I talked about this.
Yeah.
Lisa, you ever hear the track seven
I
theory?
haven't. I actually just glanced over what track 7 was
Right.
to try to put it together.
So here was the track seven theory on LPs on vinyls, right? There was this thought that from a timing perspective, you always had to make track seven a hit. And if you go back to albums
Sequencing 101. Sorry,
sequencing
go ahead.
101, right, exactly. And so
Listen,
you
if we're not
always
talking about Teddy Riley, we're talking about sequencing. I'm telling you right now. That's just that.
there
Listen,
you
we're
go.
going today.
There
But
you go.
continue.
So if you go back and you start to look at albums in the early '80s, right? So before CDs, and this is the important thing, right? Before CDs, if you go back and you look at albums, track seven is always a standout track. Track seven is always a standout track, and it has to do with placement, and it has to do with the vinyl and turning the as we talked about during the Billy Joel podcast, turning the record over and the power of that. So now we've moved into a CD consumable world where we are putting the
Nobody's
CD
flipping
in
CDs over.
and right, and we're walking away from it. So there's that instant gratification. So Bobby sets it up with the Cruel Prelude and then goes into Don't Be Cruel. Massive hit, massive thing that just has everybody. I mean, can you imagine being Ralph, Bobby, Ricky, and Mike? No, not Bobby. Ralph, Ricky,
Ronnie.
Mike,
You know.
Ronnie, and Johnny. Could you imagine them sitting down, right? Because back then, you know, if the album was coming out on June 20th, those release dates, because they were so surrounded by business, it wasn't an internet. They had to ship physical CDs places, right? So those release dates were known months in advance. So can you imagine those guys sitting down and then putting on this album, listening to Cruel Prelude, something that wasn't really being done, and then all of a sudden listening to Don't Be Cruel? Blows your mind. It's a different experience, and one of the reasons why this album is so incredibly seminal is because what it meant to, one, R&B, two, what it meant to how we would consume music, and three, what it meant to how producers would ultimately be involved in shaping and balancing music. And if you think about R&B music, you know, especially through the '90s, and Lisa can talk to you about this, you really don't get until you get into the real hip hop era with R&B. You really don't get the separate production teams that are straight Harlem and then that are straight Los Angeles. You don't get that. And what you now get is this rich set of songs that really just go crazy. And Don't Be Cruel is one of those songs.
Um, who produced Don't Be Cruel? Who wrote it?
Lisa.
LA and Babyface.
And didn't Simmons write
Daryl
part of it?
and Daryl Simmons.
Yeah. I think that's important, but that's one of the topics for one of your podcasts. Because Lisa, you're going to be having live guests and you're going to be interviewing guests, correct?
And maybe Daryl Simmons may be on one of her.
And maybe Daryl Simmons. I would love. Can I sit in on Lisa? Can you commit to our people right now that you'll let me sit on 2 of the podcasts you do?
Oh, I
Don't
got
do
you.
it!
Listen,
Don't do it!
I tried to call you last night to tell you I got a surprise for you.
Okay, so is
But
one
you didn't answer, so I'm thinking I should pass it on to Prince.
okay? I just if you can make one,
Oh,
Daryl.
Nothing like Frank's dirty seconds. Thank
Right.
you.
So
To that.
so one, Daryl Simmons, and 2, Boo Boo from Highland Place Mobsters.
The whole group. The whole group.
Not Chip. You're not gonna let me interview Chip, are you?
Yes, I am.
Oh my God, that's just.
I know. I'm
That's-
so happy for you.
You know what would make that better, Lisa?
Throwing Logan too. He'll
No.
be there.
All the Highland Place Mobsters, not
Right.
Dallas, but all the Highland
Right.
Place Mobsters will get to interview.
Yes, you.
Prince. The only thing that would make that better is Teddy Riley. If Teddy Riley produced that album.
Well, all
That's the only
right.
thing that would make that better. So,
Or even
Ah.
touched it.
or even well, okay, I'm not
All
going
right.
to talk about
Did
the influence. So,
Bobby Brown have a what was the second song on this album?
the
Don't be.
third song,
Third. Oh well, okay. Well, I don't count the prelude as a song, but go
but you
ahead.
have to because it shows up
Record
as
does.
number one on the
Yeah.
CD track.
Right. Okay. All right.
Right. Okay. Um,
Gotcha.
Lisa,
Well,
what
first of
was
all,
track
before you
number?
move on, "Don't Be Cruel" also was put on Grand Theft Auto, so that's to be, you know,
Well,
some
yeah, let's keep the kids interested. You're right about that.
Well, the problem is that "Don't Be Cruel" was 6 minutes and 48 seconds, and one of the questions I'll ask Daryl is, why did you try to squeeze two songs out of that? I'm sorry, they squeezed four songs out of that. They squeezed the prelude, the reprise, and a double whammy of "Don't Be Cruel." Cruel. Because that's all I hear whenever I hear "Don't be cruel, cruel," right? And that would be the question. But what's the third song, Lisa? Introduce the third song because everybody knows it.
it's Roni.
So the third song
Again
is
by
"My
Slade Anyway.
Prerogative." So the third song is "My Prerogative."
Right. That's true.
Oh, sorry. You're right. That is what number 3 says. I'm ready to move right on to Roni because those are my favorite too. I'm ready to skip over the Teddy Riley songs.
She's in, she's in the Bobby Brown mode.
She's in the Bobby Brown mode. Here's your rolled up 20. Um, um, "My Prerogative." "My Prerogative," Juggernaut. There is
Yeah,
nothing
classic.
bad that I can say about "My Prerogative." Nothing bad that I can say. Amazing
Oh,
video, amazing concept, amazing production, amazing lyrics, taking a word that, that's nigga slang, right? Because nigga slang, when they go to jail and they be talking about the
oh,
testosterone, the prepostery of the conservative movement. I'm sorry, I meant to say the Republican movement, right? That's right.
Oh,
It's
it's
nigga
a big
slang.
word.
It's
Gotcha.
nigga slang, right? And prerogative, "My Prerogative," fits right in there. And not only did he say that it was his prerogative, he told you it's my prerogative. I can do what I want to do. So he had every 15, 16, 17-year old just telling their parents that it was their prerogative. And
Does the fact you
that
can't
works.
think of anything bad to say about that song means you did not watch the BET movie?
The fact that I have nothing bad to say about that is because the legend of Gene Griffin, who is on the writing credits, lurks. And regardless of how he may be looked at in a positive light now, he was still pretty gangsta up in Harlem. And I don't want his people coming out and touching me. Right? At the same time, I'm not that worried about Bobby Brown. I probably should be, but that's neither here nor there. No, "My Prerogative," Prince, was an amazing song, and
You're
"My
right.
Prerogative" was a sound. And we can talk about "I Wanna," and we can talk about "Just Got Paid," and we can talk about all those things, but "My Prerogative" was a sound that nobody could say. You can't say today that "My Prerogative" sounds like any other song that exists.
Well, what I think about when I think about my prerogative, I think what makes that song. I don't think anybody else though would have had a hit with that record
I agree.
because Bobby Brown. Everybody knew Bobby Brown as the bad boy. He had got kicked out the group. Everybody knew this dude is kind of like a fuck up, and that song fit into that whole persona that he had. That's one of the things that made it so that made it fit so well and was so great. And I think that's one of the reasons why it was such a hit because I'm a big artist guy and I like when people are really themselves. It really felt like, oh, this is really Bobby Brown. This is who the fuck he is. And him talking shit to the public, strutting on stage, that was, I thought that was perfect.
So, Prince, quick sidebar. Let's go
Sure.
back to the 80s and even the 70s. When else have you seen that done that it's worked so well? I'm going to say that Frank Sinatra with "My Way," and then I'm going to say with Sid
Right?
Vicious redoing "My Way," right? Which was absolutely ridiculous. And, Billy Joel singing "You May Be Right." Again,
Let's not get carried
these,
away.
Who loves Billy
these
Joel?
songs,
Let's
these,
not get carried away.
I mean, but again, I think you're right. So let's say Frank Sinatra, "My Way," right?
Right.
Totally just turning it up, totally turning it up, and all of a sudden, because Frank Sinatra has Guinea Boy charm as he had, at that time he was looked at as being something that was really bad for America. So he was a real bad boy. So when he says I did it my way, that's the kind of fuck
Right,
you
right.
to
So fuck you
everyone.
to everybody
And
else.
my
Right.
prerogative has those same abilities, and so you see the title My Prerogative colon the Bobby Brown story, right? You'll always
Right,
see
yeah.
that, right? You'll
it's him.
always see that because it
Exactly.
says so much about him.
Right.
Lisa. So
And I don't
so,
think he had a bigger record, but ever, whatever.
he probably had a bigger record from a chart perspective, but not as big as an impact. And so I agree with you.
Yeah.
Lisa, My Prerogative. No thoughts on what are your thoughts on My Prerogative?
I mean, My Prerogative was a huge hit. It was the second biggest selling single of 1989, behind Chicago, song that I couldn't even tell you even what that song was. Look Away. I couldn't even tell you what that song is.
Look away by
Do you know
Chicago.
that
I don't know.
Please sing it for me, please, somebody.
Look Away by Chicago. I can probably name a bunch of Chicago songs. That's not one of them.
What I would make one of
I know, but that's the number. That was the number one selling song of that year.
Well, I can believe that.
Never heard it. I don't even know what it is.
Because Chicago crossed over pop and country. And, Bobby
Absolutely.
Brown.
We've got a
Not
lot
wide
of
enough,
nominations.
please, but
I
they
mean,
need
that
to-
song was definitely the biggest song, and
Well,
definitely.
I think what you got to realize is that Don't Be Cruel made its dent on the Billboard R&B charts. But My Prerogative, and this was the crossover, right? This
Right,
is the
yeah, that
jumping
was
over
big.
from R&B to pop. So all of a sudden, a whole new audience, a whole bunch of people start to see Bobby Brown, and they see him separate than New Edition, which I think is really critical.
Let me tell y'all. Let me just tell this little secret about what makes a person a superstar. Okay.
Please tell us,
And
Prince.
yes, I will. I will. My boss at Warner Brothers Records told me this years and years ago. All right. To be a star, like on Bobby Brown before this came out, he was a star. New Edition was stars. But who makes you a superstar is 13-year-old white girls. When 13-year-old white girls love and buy your music, you are a superstar. And that is what happened to Bobby Brown then. Suddenly, young white girls embraced his music, loved his bad boy image, and that is what made him a superstar. And I just thought I'd just throw that in, but yeah,
I love 13-year-old white girls.
of course you do.
I'm waiting
But-
for I'm waiting for the FBI to kick down the door here.
Right.
So FBI, open up. So well, okay.
I
So
mean, that's why K-pop and all that stuff is all huge. It's the girls, it's the young girls.
did you say
that
Teddy
buy all
Riley
those
was producing
records.
K-pop these days? I'm sorry. Did you say that?
Who's producing K-pop?
Teddy Riley is producing K-pop.
Really?
Yeah.
I
We
believe-
should talk
all right.
about that. We should do a Teddy
Okay.
Riley special.
I
Speaking
can't
of
wait
Teddy-
till we get on the next 5 songs and 6 songs that we can't talk about Teddy Riley. I'm going to be so stoked.
We'll
I'm
talk about
telling
Teddy.
you.
We'll talk about Teddy for track 7, but let's talk about track 4 because Bobby Brown introduced another brand new word into the vernacular. Because Lisa, how many dudes came up to you, rubbed up against you, and
I hope
said,
none, but I'm
said,
sure
hey.
several.
Oh,
"Hey,
let's
baby,
be honest.
can you be my tenderoni? Can you?"
I was just thinking today that I was going to be your girl, your Roni Lisa on my 90s show. I was just thinking
You're Roni.
that would be such a great, your
Ah.
Roni. I mean, what else could I be?
Roni's
What's
is the
that
old
song?
bay.
What
Wasn't that
else?
song
I mean,
written
it
for,
was the 3rd single, so, great video.
Who wrote it?
Again, Babyface in LA. So,
And did Simmons write any of that?
listen, I think there was a lot of not given credit on this record. That's
One of
Absolutely.
those songs
Not written credit.
One of those songs on the album was written for Pebbles, right? Or written about Pebbles, but I don't know which song it was. I'm trying to remember the song. Was it that song? Probably not. Maybe it was Every Little Step. Every Little Step. I don't know. Okay. Continue.
Right.
I'll-
If your name is Chili T Baza Left Eye, it's Don't Be Cruel. That was
Right.
That was written about
But that's a
Pebbles.
different podcast.
Sorry.
least-
TLC
at least-
was in the 90s, Frank. You lose.
No, I'm saying that if you have a song that's written about Pebbles, I would call it "Don't Be Cruel." Especially if I was chilly.
Pebbles is a great American hero.
I
She would tell you.
Frank and his sidebar snap outs.
if it not for Pebbles, we would not have a current day 360. So you give it up to Pebbles.
I love
Pebbles-
Pebbles.
Get you
Pebbles-
I have
first.
nothing bad to say about
I
Pebbles.
want everything.
Pebbles and Behind the Music, the Pebbles and the Behind the Music got Lear Cohen thinking about the 360. What else can I get? What?
She's the best.
So let's talk
She's the
about
best.
Roni, right? Let's talk about Roni. Roni was, I think, the best part about Roni was that it was a different type of love song, right? It was a different type of ode to women. It was something that
It was edgy.
it
It was more like bad boy words.
exactly
Something that somebody would say to you on the street, but not like somebody who was 35, somebody who was 19, 20.
right. If you were wearing bamboo earrings, right, Lise?
And a girl wearing bamboo earrings. That's what you wanted to hear.
With the ponytail.
Definitely.
With the ponytail.
Wow, wore the ponytail.
Right, and so that Roni was as important, and you know what? It was. I think what was interesting here is that the shift from the record label to switch from, Don't Be Cruel, put it out there and say, wow, the R&B world is, black people really digging this, and then My Prerogative, which is so huge, and then to bring it to Roni, all of a sudden changes it, and I think what was really interesting, and we can't not talk about it because it is every much as critical to this album, was the remixes, right? And
Right.
the remixes brought out the guitar, right? And put in the if you remember the Bobby Brown movie when he's sitting in the studio and he's recording it and he's speaking on the beginning of it, and Face and LA say, what are you doing? And he goes, okay, they agree to leave that for the remix. That remix was incredibly powerful,
Right.
and it really started to think about, okay, so we had been remixing, but we hadn't yet reached the bad boy era of remixes, right? But this is now, we're going back into the studio and doing remixes, right? And that's a phenomenon.
And I would just want to add this, that one of the things another thing that he did in this song, when y'all talk about how that song, that made up word and all that stuff, that is something that superstars do. They make up shit and explain, and you just ride with it.
Exactly.
That's a superstar move. Just he
Well, I
may
don't
not
know.
have realized
I don't
it, but-
understand why Bobby Brown's getting so much credit for the lyrics of these words in this song. And I know that wasn't the side that I was planning on taking, but we're definitely not going to say that Bobby Brown came up with Roni or any of these words.
That's right. Yeah, I think, at least I absolutely agree with you. That being said, I think it's superior
I
think it's superior songwriting. Absolutely, superior song. Well, Bobby Brown did write My Prerogative with Teddy and Aaron and Bernard Bell, but that's a different
you're
story
right.
for a different
This was
day.
Babyface,
Right.
But yeah, okay.
We back
Right.
to talking about Teddy Riley again?
Absolutely.
Man, let me tell you something. How quick it turns back to Teddy Riley so quickly.
Exactly. By the way, this podcast brought to you by PreSonus Studio 4, the digital audio workstation of Teddy Riley.
And don't forget his hat, because he always has a hat on
Right.
for some reason.
Right. Listen, I'm growing out my goatee to be like Teddy.
Right.
Right? Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Let's talk about Rock With You, because that wasn't a single, but you know what was interesting about Rock With You?
I want to talk about Rock With You because that's my favorite song.
Are we
Right.
gonna ignore that? Okay, sorry.
Why do you ask? Have you seen that video?
I have not.
That video,
Video? What video?
the Rock With You video. And first of all, it was
There was a
a
video for that?
remix of the song. It wasn't the actual song. It was a remix to the song, which I dug around. I just can only assume that it was still remixed by Face too, because I didn't find any other information on it. But that video, listen, I have 30 pages of notes about that video,
All right.
and they're all everything.
Read me a paragraph. Tell me a little bit about this video.
Hi, Frank's son.
As Frank talks.
Hi, Frank, son.
Well, first of all, that video definitely, I think, made him become a sex symbol to some degree.
Really, what was happening?
Made him likable. It made him friendly. He smiled a lot. He danced a lot. He looked very likable, very charismatic, and less of a guy who's edgy or whatever, and more likable, smiley, and in love. So the video looked.
You know what, Lisa? I think that I absolutely agree with you, and I'm gonna add on to that. "Rock With You" is the first song on this album that he's crooning. He's really singing. He's crooning. He's really and it's very easy to forget that this guy was holding down, 1/5 of the harmony for New Edition, right? And he had a very unique spot. And then all of a sudden he's singing and he's crooning. And the last time you heard him crooning like that, you didn't really hear it on Girlfriend because nobody listened to that. It was Mr. Telephone Man. So all of a sudden, Mr. Telephone Man is now 21, 22 years old, and he's singing rock and rollin', rock. You know what I mean?
Man.
And just you can't
Listen,
deny
the
that.
strip poker with the dark-skinned girl who was so pretty, and the whole thing was very classy. And listen, I watched the video 3 times today, and I hadn't seen it in years. It's a timeless video, and if you watch that video and you don't come out of that as a Bobby Brown fan, then you're just not a human being.
Shoot me
You
a
were
link to
born
that
an
video.
alien or an animal.
Shoot me a link to that video later.
And Prince,
You
let's
have
make sure.
to.
Let's make sure we put the link in our
In the notes,
in
in the
the
show
notes,
notes?
in the description, right? In the
Gotcha,
description.
in the show-
So
all right.
let's talk about the video sponsored by Oak Tree Mall Fashions, right? Which is every
Good old
little
Oak Tree. I
good
remember
old Oak Tree, right? Because I don't have shoulder pads like that. You
The
remember
little
Oak Tree?
logo? Wait, what was it?
Oak Tree had Oak
It was a
Tree.
men's store. So I
Right,
don't think
it
you
was-
would-
Okay, yeah.
It was a men's store, and they were the ones that had the zippers on the front of their jackets,
Right,
which was
right.
really cool. And they had and Oak Tree very, very much famous for using the same Bobby Brown outfits in Vanilla Ice's Ice Baby,
Right, yeah, same.
Using
Where do you
that
get this
same,
information from?
right?
I don't
using, right. Using
Listen, I
that
dug and dug today, and I didn't see any of that. I
Right?
didn't see any of that.
So I'm gonna challenge every single person to go see Ice, to go look at the video for Ice Baby, and what you're gonna see is the black jackets, heavy shoulder pads, cut real slim with the white band, right, with the zipper in front, and it's the same one that they're using from the Bobby Brown video, right? And one of the shots.
I'll
of the
add a
Bobby
link
Brown
to
video.
that in the show notes as well.
Absolutely.
You can see,
Oak Tree.
see all that.
Right, Oak Tree.
Right.
Oak Tree
So you can see the
Fashions.
fashion, what
Oak
was
Tree
fashionable back then.
Fashions, yeah. So you've got every little step, and everything about every little step is, I think, it's very hokey, right?
Wait, it's very hokey?
Hokey, right? It's very hokey, right? Bobby Brown didn't want to record it because he felt that it was candy corn, like New Edition, but
Right, it was New Edition.
Right, it
That's
was
true.
it was very much like that. So what does he do? He releases the video, and the video is showcasing his dancing talent. The video is showcasing that the guy's a good-looking young man, right? And it's heavily choreographed. It's full of charisma, and he films the video to the remix.
Okay,
Right?
now I want to talk about the introduction of the bike shorts. The introduction of his bike shorts with his suspenders, his patent leather shoes, and the Gumby high-low. Not that the hairstyle was introduced, but he did change it just a tad. Listen, it was a great video. The girls look great. They also brought out those black stretch dresses, which were everything in the 80s and 90s, were those black skin-tight dresses with the boots, and they were everything.
Shorts and suspenders, though, didn't really catch on. At least not in my neighborhood.
Those bike shorts are now trending
And you better
heavily.
you best
today.
believe I had the red socks and the patent leather shoes to go with
Oh
it.
boy, with
Right,
the shorts and the
right
suspenders.
with the shorts, because
Shorts
Prince
and suspenders?
Prince, what I'm gonna be
And
wearing
he
for
pulled on them. He had the
What I'm-
audacity to pull on them.
what I'm gonna be wearing for my next show.
Sorry.
When I'm gonna Lisa, for the show that I'm gonna come and I'm gonna interview Babyface on your 90s show, right? I'm gonna have.
Man, I
I'm
can't
gonna
wait
have-
for that day.
I can't wait for that. I'm gonna
I
have
hope
a
I'm
jacket.
there.
I'm gonna have a jacket that says Frank going down going down the sleeve because that's
Right.
exactly what I'm gonna have. No, I agree with you. Everything from the big letters to the shots of the glass underneath, and
Did you get to see the Wayne Brady,
Absolutely.
Mike Tyson version of that?
that just tells you how crazy
iconic
that
it was.
is, how iconic it really was.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Prince. Because when you redo the video, step for step, you know what I mean?
With Mike
And
Tyson.
With Mike Tyson. So I thought that was great, but it also it also corresponds to I think a really big fail, right? And that is Bobby Brown rapping.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And let me just say this. Bobby Brown has to be the worst rapper in the history of pop music. All right? And I'm talking Madonna. I'm talking the
Well, let's
list.
be honest. I'm sure the lyrics were not written by him. I'm sure they're written by Babyface, who definitely is the worst rapper in pop history. So
I mean,
if
Bobby
he's
Brown
the
was
one
able-
who's
he
penning
was-
it, then that's the problem, not Bobby Brown.
I don't know,
He was
Lisa.
able to
I got
sell a lot of stuff, but he could not sell that rapping.
Yeah, and Lisa, I gotta tell you, I just can't believe that Bobby Brown was not involved in My Name is Bobby and not Uncle Sam, right? That's whew.
On a lighter note, Karen White did some background vocals on the song,
Really?
which,
Which
Okay.
is really interesting. That's
yes,
really
because you hear the female voice in the background and you always wonder, well, who could that possibly be? Karen White. Probably pre-Karen White.
interestingly enough, I never wondered that.
You didn't? I did.
True fan.
I, of course, did.
Yeah,
You know, I don't mean to roll this back to Teddy Riley's song, but Aaron Hall did background vocals on My Prerogative.
I do believe that, and he was there in St. Nicholas Projects, the 11th floor,
Nice.
and Homeboy Recordings. That was the name of the
Homeboy Recordings.
Homeboy Recordings, and it was a project apartment that had been totally remade into a recording studio, and it was really interesting to kind of be in there because you're in the piss elevators of the projects, right? And Prince, you're in New York City, and
I know exactly what you're talking
you know
about.
exactly what you're talking about, and you take it to the 10th or 11th floor in St. Nick Projects, which is right off of 135th, 125th, 135th, right on the top of Central Park, and you go up in there, and then you're walking to a very nondescript apartment, and it's crazy. You knock on the door, and you open the door, and there are couches, and it's a fully fledged recording studio, and that's where My Prerogative was written. And it's just something to be said about that. And again, that's counter to working in Solar Studios, right? Solar, famous Suge Knight, Dr. Dre, The Chronic, everything from Death Row Records recorded at the old Sonar Studios, where you have Don't Be Cruel and those things being recorded, right? So it was very interesting. Every little step is a juggernaut of a song, and every little step to me is the victory lap, right? It's the
Yeah,
victory
because
lap.
this album is
right.
basically over at this point, right? I mean, let's be honest.
Don't
After
say
this,
that because we
there
have
were-
to cover one more Teddy Riley song before you say that. Then we'll talk about it being over. But don't you dare say that in front of Frank.
Right, and don't you dare say that I'll Be Good to You, right? I'll Be Good to You is a masterpiece, and the reason that it's a masterpiece because I'm going to tell you something. It's Teddy Riley bringing out the orchestral hits, right? The orchestral hits, that bam, bam. Think about, so you want to know what orchestral hits are, think about another famous 80s album, right, from Yes, and think about the single Owner of a Lonely Heart. That bump, that sound, right? That's what I'll Be Good to You has on it, right?
Frank remembers that. I mean,
Amazing.
Prince remembers that.
Right, yeah, I remember that.
I think that I'll Be Good to You sounds a lot like the Guy record that
Right.
wasn't
Yes.
yet out.
Yes.
But I will say it was a good song. It just, now you're starting to get into songs that were all good, but they were just overshadowed
Right.
by better songs. So if that's a problem that you have, that's a good problem to have, is that you have a great record and just so many good songs, you can only pick 5.
Lisa,
And
let me
sooner
ask
or later
you.
you have to stop releasing singles.
Let me ask you, Lisa. I'll Be Good to You Is that a song that belongs on the Guy album, the Keith Sweat album, or the Al B. Sure album? Which
Right.
one?
Well,
Which one?
you know,
Which one would you put it on?
Guy.
That's good. That's
I
good
mean, as
choice.
soon as I heard it, I was like, man, this sounds just like. I could have
Right.
done some research and figured out which Guy record it sounded like, but there was a Guy record that sounded just like it.
Probably, I think we can spend the night. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
Very much.
Don't make
Right.
me sing it. God,
Right.
don't make me sing it. Please
We
don't make
can.
me.
We can. We can. You know what, Lisa? You gotta show this to Damien, right? Lisa is very close with Damien and a whole bunch
Oh,
of. That's
man.
why she's in Atlanta, right? But the coolest thing is seeing Damien Hall in the white jumpsuit, and then Teddy remixes the song for the video, and he goes, "We can, we can, we can," right? With great song. We need to do the Guy album. Lisa, we may have you back to do the Guy album.
The
But
Guy record
right,
was great.
but I'll Be Good to You is, to me, it's almost the closing of the album, right? And the reason being is not that the other songs weren't good, is that once you get 7 songs deep on an album, there's a certain amount of fatigue that gets in there. Because I'm going to tell you, once you're, at this time you got Bobby Brown opening up for New Edition, and then you got Bobby
No,
Brown. and you-
incorrect.
so
At
you
this
had-
point, New Edition and I'll Be Sure opening up for Bobby Brown.
So at this point, when the album comes out, you've got Bobby Brown on the New Edition Heartbreak Tour. Album blows up, sells 3 mil. When they get to 3 million, Bobby Brown goes on his own world tour. Well deserved. But at the point that Bobby Brown goes on his tour, if you're talking about a great Bobby Brown show is maybe 14 songs, he can do 7 of these songs, not touch his girlfriend catalog, right? And not touch any of the
favorite,
Telephone
everybody,
Man or
but
anything else like that. I think it's something to say. I think it's absolutely something to say. So, Lise, let's talk about Take It Slow, All Day, All Night, and I Really Love You, Girl. What are your thoughts on that? Because those are not songs that pop into my head. What are your thoughts?
I think that Take It Slow and All Day or Night and All Night are more mature songs. They sounded more like more mature love songs. Again, still great songs, just overshadowed by what was actually going to be up and coming people that were a name. Where these last songs didn't have any attachment to any names. But that didn't take away from the songs because they were still great songs. They just were overshadowed by better songs. That's it.
How does Larry White, who is one of the writers and the part of the production team for Take It Slow and All Day, All Night, how do they shine in this? Again, when you're an A&R rep for MCA Records in 1988, in January of 1988, and you're looking at the masters of this, you're listening to this stuff, you're sequencing this stuff, and you're saying, oh my goodness, I can't highlight Larry White. I'm not doing a video for that Larry White song.
But I don't know why, because every one of those songs were songs that you'll never hear again because R.I.P. to love music.
Right.
R.I.P. These songs were more about love, more about male, chivalry and taking it slow and falling in love. Where now you only hear about, money, cars, and bitches, and that's it, and men being assholes. That's pretty much where music is today versus where music was then. So,
and
I
Prince,
think all three of them are great. But I can still sing them verbatim. And
Prince, by the way, you just got our Instagram 59-second little clip, right, with Lisa just going balls to the wall on Men Today, right?
Right, men and music.
Right,
today.
and
boy,
we need you to
the kids
put
are
up.
gonna love her.
Right, you really need to put up the the obligatory Percocet warning or Percocet trigger. So that's
sponsored by marijuana. All right,
that's
that's
right.
what all music is now.
Right. Well, it's more so codeine, but right, the marijuana just takes the little end off, And
this album, I'll be honest, this album is it's a classic for Bobby, and I think one of the reasons what helped to make Bobby a superstar, because I like trying to figure out, why certain people get big and other people don't. But the one thing about these last few songs on this album, as Lisa said, even though they weren't they weren't that hot on the streets. Obviously, the girls like them,
Right.
and that's and you gotta remember the girls.
That's
And he kept them in the forefront, and I think that kind of helped him, even though those songs weren't popular. That helped him, reach.
They were just very mature. And I think maybe more mature than the word Roni, rock with you, prerogative. I think the wording and stuff and the just the whole atmosphere of that song was just too mature. Not that it wasn't a good song, just too mature.
Fun adult education podcast fact. I was being laid to rock with you, right? Which is unlike the other podcast. Right? Unlike the other podcast, that wasn't happening. So, that's the one thing. That's 1988, Lise. You know what I'm saying?
You should send Bobby a thank you letter.
I did. I did. I actually sent him the receipt because I bought 2 more of his albums, hoping that I get laid twice as much. Right? That didn't quite happen. And then has to do a mic drop to say, I told you it was going to be hot. He does the Cruel reprise, drops the mic with the Cruel reprise, right? Which is only half of the time of the Cruel prelude and a smooth 10% of the Don't Be Cruel song, right? But milking out those chords, but that was really important. And then he ended the album. And again, it is a genius in sequencing, and I think the first time one of the first times in music, you really started to think about how are people consuming music, and how does sequencing impact how do people consume music.
Sequencing. If we only talked about BET as much as we talk about sequencing, people would really follow this. Joe Public does not care about sequencing. Joe Public cares about videos on BET in 1988.
So Lisa, that's where you're wrong, because Joe Public cared about sequencing, especially in the 80s, right? Because sequencing really meant where something was going to end up, and if you would have to turn over the record over the tape, right? So sequencing is absolutely critically important.
I think. Well, since we have Lisa here, I feel like she's trying to do revisionist history on Bobby Brown to a certain degree. Because, Whitney's dead. His daughter's dead. He's still bopping around. I don't know. You're saying he's not responsible? He's the good guy?
And Prince, I don't know. And Prince, I think he overfed that beautiful Pomeranian he had in 1989.
The whole Bobby Brown is a good guy. All right. You're the guest on the show, so, we're going to leave it with your statements, but I just want my people to know that I'm not going.
Well, we already know. We already know that you're very media-led to begin with.
Of course.
So by you being media-led, facts will never sync well with you. I know that about you. So the fact that I'm bringing facts to the table means nothing to you, because if media tells you he's a bad guy, handcuffs on Bobby Brown.
There you go.
Okay, so Lisa, we got to give it. Bobby Brown, Don't Be Cruel, released in June of 1988. Thumbs up or thumbs down, Lisa?
Oh, all 5 fingers up.
Oh, 5 fingers up. She's giving it 5 fingers. And Prince, Don't Be Cruel, Bobby Brown, 1988. What are you giving?
I think the album made him a superstar. I would give, but because of his personal business, I would
Oh.
All right. Okay. I think the album is important in when you talk about Bobby Brown. It's also important when you talk about New Jack Swing. I think it's the album is an important album.
Well, and the up and coming Babyface in LA. That was probably really important for them, and it was the best selling record of 1989. That album. So that album sold the most records of 1989.
It's something to be said. I give it a thumbs up, and the reason that I give it a thumbs up is because I don't think that you could have a conversation about Bobby Brown and have any context with someone that hasn't spent the time listening to the album. And although I think his next big release, Bobby, was so much superior in all ways, in all tracks, I think that you have to go back to from a songwriting perspective and a production perspective, I think you have to go back to "Don't Be Cruel" to just kind of understand, what expectations were there. So "Don't Be Cruel" is Bobby Brown with no expectations, expected to fail, and he didn't just bring it back to break even. He totally blew the doors off of it, and he changed the perception of what people needed to do. So without Bobby Brown and Don't Be Cruel, you don't get Johnny Gill. You don't get Sensitivity. You especially don't get Poison. And if you start to go with Poison, you don't get Boyz II Men. You don't get Spider-Man and Freeze. You don't get Dallas Austin. And then you don't get TLC. And you don't get... And it just goes on and on. And
thank you, Bobby. You're so awesome.
Well,
Bobby Brown is the best,
and all of that
history.
Exactly.
But Whitney.
All that, a lot of that genesis comes back
Team
to
Whitney.
Well, all that genesis comes back to all that genesis comes back to don't be cruel. I think don't be cruel. That's Whitney's listening to it in a bathtub.
Lisa, it was fun having you.
Lisa, 90s Rewind podcast. Where
Right.
she's actually going to be interviewing people who are absolutely critically important,
Still alive.
the
People who are
90s,
still
and
alive.
still alive,
And
right?
barely relevant today.
And barely relevant today, but absolutely relevant to all of us.
But relevant to our youth and our good old days.
Absolutely. And as we end every podcast, subscribe if you like us. If you don't like us, subscribe anyway, because what does it matter to you?
Right. It doesn't cost you anything.
Right, it doesn't cost you anything. And
Make sure you hit that bell.
Right,
so that
exactly.
when we put up a new one, you see it.
Tell us what you want us to review. And we probably won't review it because we have a very nihilistic
You're backed up.
going head, right? And that's just the reality, and it's late. But tell us what you want to listen, what you want. Tell us how we can do better. We certainly do take those comments. Be on the lookout for Lisa and her 90s Rewind podcast, or Around the Way Bay, with her bamboo earrings. And I'm going to promise you, the first 5 podcasts, you're going to get different makeup, different hair. You'll get a different attitude. And even we're going to all chip in and make sure that we get Lisa a really good mic. But
And I won't have to compete with Frank. And that is half the battle.
All right, y'all. This was fun. We're done.
So, bro, I lost my headphones long ago.
Really?
My sound is coming from my speaker. I can't hear you at all anymore, Frank. You're gone. Prince, talk.
Hello?
I can hear Prince.
We can't hear you, Frank. You're done. We can't hear you.
second.
No, now we can hear you. Hello? Nope.
Prince, did you notice?
Hear you
Did
now.
you notice mid-stroke that he was cracking?
Yeah, because and we noticed the echo in you,
Ah,
but it wasn't that bad. I don't think it was that bad. Frank, we can't hear you, dude. We can't hear you. Frank, we cannot hear you.
What about now? Damn.
Yes,
Yes,
now
we
we
can
can
hear
hear
you.
Jeez. So Lisa, when your headphones went out, you became alive.
Exactly.
You just became alive.
I was
agree.
just waiting on Roni, Frank. I mean,
No,
goddamn, that's really what I
you-
was doing. I was just waiting patiently
you-
for my
you-
heavy-duty notes on Roni.
Right.
Stop being
Okay, I had
irritated
heavy
and started
notes.
getting into it, and
right.
then it was fun. Right.
You became alive, and when you look at the replay of that, you'll see the moment that you snap on, which I think is great.
Listen, bro,
Yeah.
I did boatloads of homework. I studied
And that's it. It came out too. You know,
because
you
I'm tired
sounded
of
very
you, Frank. I'm tired of you. I am so tired of you, Frank. I mean, I'm booked. You know what I'm saying? I'm booked around here. And I had to come with something a little bit better than last time.
That was much better than last time.
Letting you shine is my downfall.
No,
So I
think
can't
this
let that
time,
happen, Frank. I have to
I
let you
think-
shine for a second and then kick some dust on you. Then let you shine yourself up, then kick some dust on you. You know.
Okay.
I think it was good, and I think the second half of it was really good.
Was really
The first half was kind of weak, but the
Right.
second half of this podcast was really good.
Oh,
Everybody
God,
was into
sorry.
it and all that stuff. Y'all were going back and forth. It was good. I got to defend Whitney.
Whatever weird shit Frank's over there concocting, because he's doing something retarded back there.
No, I'm actually putting away my cocaine props.
So here I am trying to call you FaceTime last night, because Derek and I were at dinner, and I came to the conclusion that you're the one that should do the Highland Place interview. So,
But that's a different Frank, right? That's like fanboy Frank.
I mean, it's gonna be.
This is have a lot of fun and take contrarian opinions because I love the album. I think the album is genius. I think Bobby Brown is genius.
What Highland Place?
No, Don't Be Cruel.
Oh,
I think Don't Be Cruel is genius, but you take a contrarian opinion. You know what I mean?
Right? Yeah. It's the fucking internet. Who gives a fuck?
Right.
but the interview with Highland Place, forget it. And then I don't even want. We don't want it to be like an interview. We want it to be like a conversation. So it's gonna be so good. I'm so excited about it. It's not even funny.
So Lisa, when you stopped messing with the electronics and whatever, and you started responding and you started throwing stuff out, and then you really started focusing on moving stuff along, I think that's when it became brilliant.
Well, I was having a lot of issues with my headphones as they were dying.
So-
And then Derek came over and I'm like, my headphones are dying. And then he wanted to come over and look, and he looked, and then once my headphones were dead, I'm like, God, I hope I can hear it or it's going to be fucked up. And then they went out and I could vaguely hear y'all. So I had to pay really close attention to hear from these dumb speakers, but
Yeah, Lisa, so these are Walmart $15.
bro, these shits were charging all day. I don't.
Right,
the
but
plug
these
must have not been in the wall.
But the Bluetooth is really crazy, and it gets.
I don't
crazy.
like that gimmick on your head. I don't want that.
It's just but the quality of what you get. It's the quality of what you get, and it almost looks like it's two gamers sitting here talking shit, and what it looks like. I think what it's designed to look like, because we started talking about some of the production qualities, and I think we came to the conclusion that everybody likes it when we just look like we're doing absolutely nothing, just talking shit.
Right.
So, talking shit about music and coming up with opinions.
And looking like two gamers.
Looking like two gamers.
Right.
Looking...
Two middle-aged gamers.
You look like the kids sitting around playing that stupid fucking Fortnite. Fucking
Right, exactly.
Exactly. And that's good.
Yeah, no, I think that works well.
But I really thought the second half was good. I can't wait to hear it, to listen back to it, and and let some other people listen to it to get some opinions. But I think the second half was really very good. I'm kind of concerned about the first half, but I think the second half was made up.
I mean, all you have to do is, and I was saying this, Frank, when you're doing your thing and you're doing the bulk of the talking and we're not, instead of having our squares up, can you just put your square up?
No, Mommy, I'm not.
Lisa, you
I'm
love
so
that.
mad I didn't get to. Why? See, he could play music now. Listen, he could have did that throughout the whole thing. Why didn't you play any
Lisa,
music?
it was fine. Everything was. It was good. It was good.
No,
but I'd
There's
like
nothing
to
to
see
complain
music.
about. There's
Personally.
literally nothing to complain about. It was a good show. I thought it was, it was good and entertaining. So, enjoy it. What did Derek think? Did he get to hear it?
Huh?
Was he in the room? Was Derek in the room?
No, we're gonna go to dinner. He's getting dressed.
All right.
Gotcha. All right.
So-
Well, let me get out of here.
right.
Get out of here. Where the fuck you going?
I gotta be up at 4:00 in the morning, so I'm
Okay.
going to be
I
going
get to do
to
this
Frank.
again.
Think about what we're gonna do next and what your schedule is looking like.
Do you want to
So-
do it from? Do you want to do it? You want to do it one night from London?
Sure.
That would be-
Yeah.
yeah,
London,
that-
New York. That'll
Do
be
Prince
cool.
and I get to come to London, or do we have to sit in our simple fucking houses in Atlanta and New York?
Well, what?
When do I get to do another one?
When we do a 90s R&B
Right.
album.
Well, or when we do I'll Be Sure, or when we do
Or Guy or something.
Yeah, I'll Be Sure. I think it's going to be I'll Be Sure.
Lisa had a great record too. Don't forget that.
Not really. So
Paper
Prince,
Towel was a good song, though. I will say
She had a
that.
lot of good songs. I heard it the other day. Whatever.
Prince, I think we need to do Faith by George Michael.
Classic.
I think we-
Classic.
I think we need
Monkey,
to do
one of my
Faith.
favorite songs of all time.
Right, exactly.
Monkey, right? Of
So-
course it would be.
So I will be in London, and it won't, and I'll do the whole thing with an English
Bruh,
accent.
if they
Yeah, do
release
it when you
Monkey
get
today, you don't know how many times you would hear the word racism, gentrify,
The song is
deport
about
racists.
people who have. The song is about people with drug problems. A monkey on your back.
Right,
Everybody
A Monkey on
knows
Your
that.
I
Back
know,
is-
but in
is
2019, Monkey would be considered a black person. Let's be honest.
Wow.
That's the life
no,
I live right now.
The fact that you made that jump is really
Right,
fucking
exactly.
scary.
You made
It's
that jump. It's
really fucking
ridiculous.
scary to me. You know what I mean?
Right,
That's,
be white for a second, and you would
Right.
understand how it feels. Poor me. Poor me, because I'm white.
Wow. We finally gone the whole entire way. Prince, we
got
finally
white
hit
guilt,
180.
right? I have
There's
white.
this white guilt now.
I do.
There's
Right.
white guilt. You
Right.
know?
I sent her a white tears gif. I know she was pissed off about that, but
Yeah,
I did it
yeah,
anyway
yeah.
Bullshit.
because I'm an asshole.
Right. Where's the love for the for the colonizers?
Right.
the
Where's
love
the love
for
for the colonizers?
I hate it too. This is the most stupidest racist bullshit. Colonizers.
Right.
It's
We-
true. What are
we
you
brought
talking
you-
about? What's
we
racist
brought you
about it?
Chris-
It's true.
We brought you Christianity and the measles.
Christianity and the measles. That's classic. I'm stealing
Why
that.
you clowns talking shit? I'm about to go out to eat. I don't know where the fuck where, but I'm going somewhere.
All right, I'll have Frank send her the.
That's
the
hysterical.
copy.
I'm sorry. That Prince, you got to use that. We got to get that on a
Right.
T-shirt.
Gotta use that. Gotta
Thanks,
use that.
thanks for Christianity and the measles.
You colonizer. You fucking colonizers.
Right.
You don't-
She'll be in London. We can use that.
Right, and you don't even have to put like colonizer or anything. You could just get a shirt that says "Thanks for Christianity and the measles," and anybody who knows will get it. That's hysterical.
That's
merch.
racist.
That's merch.
Racist.
That's
It's
merch.
true.
How come
It's
everything
true.
white people say is racist, but that's not racist?
Because everything that white people say are racist.
But that wasn't racist, right?
What wasn't racist? No, racism is a system of power, and black people don't.
No, the fuck it's not. Look up the definition. Don't make up your own definition.
Racism?
Yeah,
Hold on. Wait, hold on. Let's all.
it's
open
not
up.
anything about a
Alright.
system of power.
Let's
Yeah,
all. Sorry. Let's all. open
I'm out.
m.w.com. m-w.com. Hold on. I want to see what.
Merriam-Webster
I'm right.
is
I'm,
what he's pulling
I'm,
it up.
right, I'm
Wait,
That's
racism.
Merriam-Webster dictionary. He's pulling it out.
All right.
Eric.
So I'm
Here.
pulling.
Frank's being a racist.
Right.
Here, Frank's being racist.
Right. A political.
Lisa's being sensitive.
Right. A
But
doctrine.
she doesn't
or
want
po-
anybody else to be sensitive.
a
But she's sensitive.
doctrine or political program based on the assumption of racism and designed
Right,
to
you don't
execute
get to
its-
pull it up in the Urban Dictionary or whatever.
That's not
book.
the
That's
Urban Dictionary.
that's
Merriam-Webster.
MWA. That's
Dictionary.
Merriam-Webster. Yeah.
Not a black guy hates
That's
being black.
Merriam-Webster dictionary. That's
It's a-
the
'cause
And I-
Merriam-Webster.
dictionary everybody uses.
Right, because Merriam-Webster
Hold
is
on.
just like them black dudes. It's just
There-
them black dudes. It's just them black dudes. It's them black dudes.
All right, y'all. I'm out. I will talk to everybody later.
Whoa, there he is.
Oh, Derek pops in.
What's up, Derek?
I don't see his head though.
Hey, Derek.
Nice shirt.
Nice shirt,
How
man.
can I big ass head in, babe?
Right, damn. They're right.
Singing
Right.
from my
What's good, man? What's happening?
Yo,
Hey, Derek. Hey,
talk
D.
to-
Hey, D. When you go out to
I
dinner,
heard it.
You gotta listen.
when you go out to dinner, right? Tonight, when you go out to dinner,
Go to dinner.
right? When you go out to dinner, you hear me? D, you hear me?
We're going out to dinner,
Yeah, you're going out to dinner, right?
right?
Take your phone, right?
Take-
Right? Go to dictionary
Okay,
and look up the word racism
right.
and then read it to Lisa so she understands what racism is.
What you think it is?
Not that bullshit he just said.
She did good on the podcast today. She did a lot better than she did last time. Especially in the second half. In the first half, she was kind of nervous, but in the second half, she did really well. So I think I think you enjoy it. But I really want to hear your opinion of it. So, Frank, when do you think you'll have that done?
I'll spit it out tomorrow, and
Gotcha.
hold on. Home is never far away. It makes me think of you.
All right.
You should have left me sitting
here
all alone by myself.
You go like this.
Why do you do me the way that you
Oh, my
do?
goodness.
You
should have left me sitting. You know what? You know what, Lisa? I was waiting for Derek to just do that part over the top. Because I was recording, and that would have just been dope. That would have made my year.
I forgot. Recording.
That would have made my year.
You
That
thought
would have
you
just
would
made
hope
my
Derek
year.
would sing it, but
I
of
was
course
hoping he
not.
was going to do it. You know what? That's
Derek
what
didn't
exa-
fall for the okie doke.
That's exactly what I'm going to make the guys do. I'm going to make the guys do 16 bars of that. I'm going to make the guys do 16 bars. All right.
Awesome move.
All right.
All right, later, y'all. I will